All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Atp Live Monday. Good evening, whichever platform you're watching us from, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. You are all welcome. I'm just going to first share the link, the videos to all our various platforms, and then we can start. So, how has your day been? I hope it's been a wonderful day. All right. I'm just happy to be here this evening. So this is ATP Live Monday, brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. We every Monday we do have this session where we get to answer any questions that you may have about the health of your children. And so it's my pleasure to be here now. So just give me a couple of minutes, just make sure I share the video and then we can start. But if you have any question, feel free to start to drop your questions already on our group. And luckily, I think I'm seeing myself in the right platform today. Oh, awesome. Okay, last week was a nightmare. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining us. Uh, don't be lost. Yeah, at Ask the Pediatricians. And this is our ATP Live Monday, where we get to answer any question you may have about the health of your children and in the next 60 minutes. So I'm just trying to share the videos to our groups and to other platforms so that all of us can see. So, okay, I'm sharing to my stories. To our groups. Okay. And to other groups. Oh, we're all getting ready for Christmas. All right, it's that time of the year. Okay, and let me just pin it as well so that people can see it, because some people are like, oh, I didn't say it. So when we pin it, you can all see it. Okay. Okay. All right, guys, I think I'm done with all the pinning and all the sharing. So welcome everyone to ATP Live Monday. This program is brought to you by Ask the Pediatricians Foundation. Ask the Pediatricians Foundation is committed to the health and welfare of all children globally, but especially in sub-Saharan Africa, where a lot of our children are still dying from preventable conditions. And so we do that through our online platform like this, where we do a lot of health education and teaching. And we also do it through our offline community medical outreaches as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. And today is a special day because today is a day where we commemorate it's World Prematurity Day. So I'm going to do a little bit of talking about prematurity, since today is World Prematurity Day. And if I have any premature baby who is now an adult listening to me, I want you to identify yourself and show yourself so that you are testimony that pediatricians have done a good job. So a lot of our children are still being born premature, and this category of children constitutes um, a high percentage of children that we tend to lose. So that's why it's so important for us to talk about prematurity, and that is why we are celebrating the World Prematurity Day today. So thank you so much for joining. Just joining on Instagram. Ikineb, say well done, ma. Thank you for all you do. Thank you so much also for joining me. And I can see some people on Facebook today. Thank God. Last week was a was a dilemma. Also, thank you so much, everyone. So if you have any questions, feel free to start dropping your questions now. Thank you, Abigail, Chama David. Thank you. Dr. Wa, that's in Yoruba. Thank you. Ifoma, very consistent as always. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm happy to see you as well. All right, so feel free to drop your questions, and we'll try and answer them. Barakat Adetum, good evening, you're welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. All right, so while I'm waiting for your questions, it is the World Prematurity Day. So let me talk a little bit about prematurity. What does it mean to be born premature? Because a lot of people actually don't know the meaning of the word. And actually the word prematurity, we tend not to use it a lot because it can be misunderstood, So, but we can talk about preterm babies. So preterm babies are babies that are born before 37 completed weeks. It's very important for you to lock in that word 37. A lot of people always ask me, oh, my baby is weighing so maybe weigh 2.1 or so something. Is my baby premature? No, your baby is not premature based on the weight. Your baby is premature based on the time they were born, and that time is 37 weeks. So people will ask me, my baby was born at 36 weeks, is my baby still preterm? Yes, your baby is preterm. If your baby is born at 36 weeks, your baby is preterm. If your baby is born at 36 weeks, 5 days, your baby is preterm. If your baby is born at 36 weeks, 6 days, your baby is preterm. If your baby is born at 37 completed weeks, your baby is not preterm. So when we talk about term is when babies are born. So there's what we call date, there's what we call term. Date, D-A-T-E, and then we also have called term, T-E-R-M. So let me talk a little bit about both of them, because a lot of people get them confused. So when you go to the doctors when you're pregnant, and then the first question they ask you is, when is your last menstrual period? And you give them your last menstrual period, and then they also ask you, and then they will tell you how far along you are, what we call your gestational age, and then they will tell you expected dates of delivery, EDD. Many of us are quite familiar with that. So when they give you that date, expected date of delivery, that is your date. Okay, that is the date that you're supposed to have the baby. That date is based on 40 weeks. Okay, 40 weeks. So the dates they give you, let's say they say you're going to deliver on the 17th of November. So 17th of November is your 40 weeks. And that is your date, due date, expected date, due dates, whatever. Now, term is different. So between 37 and 42 weeks. In other words, even though your doctor has told you you are going to deliver on this date, but we all know that you can deliver before or you can deliver after. So there's a period that we expect you to deliver, not necessarily on the due date, but around that date. So the date is 40 weeks, but before 40 weeks, you can deliver from 37 and you can deliver as far as 42 weeks. So between 37 and 42 weeks is what we call term, T-E-R-M. So that is term. So anybody who has a baby between 37 weeks and 42 weeks is term, and it is still normal. So that is what we expect. But if you deliver pre-term, before the term, which is 37 weeks, then your baby is preterm, or you can say your baby is premature. You can also deliver post-term after 42 weeks, okay? But you can also deliver post-date, okay? Post-date is if you deliver after 40 weeks, but not necessarily post-term, but post-term is 42 weeks. But today I'm focusing on the preterm. So that is why I have to give you that definition of term. So the fact that you deliver your baby before the 40 weeks, before the due date, does not mean your baby is preterm. It has to be at least before the 37 weeks. So before 37 weeks, your baby is preterm. After 37 weeks, even though it's before your due date, your baby is still not preterm. So I think that is the first thing I want you to understand. So all my people that always ask me every day, this is the, I deliver, my baby is 36 weeks, is my baby preterm? My baby is 37 weeks, is my baby preterm? Now you know the answer for yourself. So before I go on, because I can see the questions have started building up, so I'm just going to answer a few questions. But if you have any question about prematurity, preterm baby, this is the day to ask it, because today is World Prematurity Day. Okay, so let's quickly answer the first question by thank you, Hope. Thank you, Hope. Thank you from as well. Okay, I just don't want to scam over your comment. Okay, for myself, can I help and protect my 7-month-old baby who has hair crawling and is trying to stand up, holding things up? How do I protect the baby? Number one, your home has to be what we call child friendly. This is the time to take away your chairs, to take away all those your fancy verses, fancy stuff that can break easily. You know what I'm talking about. All of us decorate our house with all those fancy stuff. When you start having a crawler, a toddler, an infant that is crawling, you need to take away all those things, and you need to make the house as free as possible of encumbrances. So there are many ways people do it. There are people that will have a baby pen, like it's a kind of arrangement where the baby can sorry, my ring light is messing up. It's a kind of arrangement where your baby can a place where the baby can do all their crawling without necessarily, getting out and hurting themselves. So if you have a playpen, you can put the baby in a playpen. So it's more like a rectangle, and you know that anything the baby is doing in that place, the baby is safe. So if you can have a playpen, that's a good idea. Another option is, even if it's just your regular room or the children's room, just make sure you remove all these things that can hurt the baby. Put in like a normal baby mat so that the child can have room to move around without too much of something to pull or to hold on to. And of course, you can never leave them unsupervised. So you always have to be constantly supervising them. I know it's a lot of work. So, but if when you are not ready to supervise, you are busy in the kitchen, you put them in a playpen, let them be, in a place where they can move around but not able to come out and not able to hurt themselves. Or, when you're busy and you can't supervise, then you have to put the baby either in the chair, or you carry the baby with you until you are able to be there, sit down and monitor the baby. Luckily, it's just a phase. By the time they're about 1 year, they are standing up and walking, which is another monitoring on its own. But unfortunately, we just have to have your eyes both in front and at the back of your head all the time once you have these young crawlers, because they are very fast and accidents happen in splits of seconds. So the most important thing is to prevent. So look around the house. What are those things that this child can pull on and can hurt themselves? Take them off. Your TV has to be high up. It can't be at the table level. Things like that. Sometimes we just have to look and think about it, and then you figure it out, and then you monitor the children constantly. Okay, blessing. He said, good evening, Doctor. Thank you. I'm a first time mom. Hey, should we ring a bell for the first time mothers? Okay. My 6-month-old baby has refused taking pap. Okay. You introduced mashed potato and egg yolk, which she was taking at initial, but started showing refusal. I felt it does not like the egg yolk, so I stopped the egg yolk, and it's taking the mashed potato and make very fine. In fact, before I get to the mouth, he has opened it. I'm scared it doesn't contain the 4 classes of food. My question is, what can I add? Okay, your question is so long, I can't see the bottom of it, but I got the gist. Okay, so that is fine. Number one, it's not written in the constitution that the baby has to take milk, pap. So the fact that baby doesn't take pap, there's nothing wrong with that. There are so many other things your children can take apart from pap, apart from even the potato, the mashed potato, and all that. And even for the egg, it has to be full egg. Stop you. I don't know where people get the impression that it's only the yolk that they should give. It should be the full egg. The full egg, the white of the egg is actually the protein. So you need to give it as well. So it should be, if you're putting the egg, you boil the egg. You can cut the egg into pieces. And when you're putting it, I hope you're not putting the raw yolk. I hope it is cooked egg. Don't give children raw yolk into the food. It's not pleasant, and we don't recommend it, and it can also be contaminated with what we call salmonella and can cause typhoid and all that. So we don't recommend ever giving children raw egg, and it has to be cooked, and it doesn't have to only be the yolk. It is the full egg that the child needs. Okay, and the way you are talking, you seem to be focusing on giving only one kind of food at a time. That is not the idea. The idea for complementary feeds is to give variety. Okay, so it's not like your child should just only be taking potato and yolk all day and for the next 1 month. No. So it's okay for the child to take potato. Other time it could be mashed rice, it could be mashed yam, it could be other food. So there are variety. So since you're a first time mom and I hope you're on our Facebook group, I will recommend strongly that you go and watch our guide session on complementary feeding. If you watch the guide session on complementary feeding, we have all the information you need there. Okay, even the part that you say your child doesn't want to take, it may just be that you need to offer it because your baby is just 6 months. So how often have you offered that part before you gave up? And is it the part that you didn't put any sweetener, you didn't put dates, you didn't put sugar, you didn't put nothing, and it's just bland? Or even your normal milk, the baby's formula, you can use it to sweeten the pap. It doesn't have to be watery pap that you want to put in a bottle. It has to be thick, porridge, like something that when you take, the way I normally demonstrate is that when you put the pap on the spoon and you turn it upside down, it should not fall. That is the texture. That is the thickness it should be. And then you can mix it with a little bit of dates. You can mix it with a little bit of your formula so that it will have taste, because I see a lot of people giving children bland food because they say, oh, children should not taste sugar, they should not take salt, they should not. No, that is not true. Nobody ever said that. What we always recommend is moderation. Everything you do it moderately. So we don't want you to load the child with sugar all the time. Does not mean that you should not put a little bit of salt when you're cooking your potato to give it taste. Just like you also won't take like food that doesn't have taste. The same thing with the kids. So these are the things that we recommend. So, but we have a lot of resources on complementary feeding. I think that's one question that we have answered and we have thoroughly trashed. There are a lot of videos already completely on complementary feeding, on fussy eaters, all that. I would recommend you go to our website, our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, watch those videos. Just type in complementary feeding to bring them all out. Watch all of them. Watch the guide session. You will get all the information you need. The most important thing when it comes to complementary feeding is having the right knowledge. So, and you'll be on track. And remember, you keep breastfeeding as well. Also pay attention to the quantity. Remember, the quantity you are giving to a 6-month-old, it's not that much, because a lot of people want to convert the volume you are giving as liquid to the same volume you want to give as solid. No, the quantity you give as solid is actually smaller because it's more calories per that small quantity compared to that of milk and all that. So I hope that makes sense. But if you need further clarification, let me know. Instagram people, I've not seen your question, but if you have question, ask. If you don't have, you can keep listening to us and keep learning. All right. But keep breastfeeding your baby, and I think that will take care of the child's okay, I think this my ring light is losing touch. Okay. All right, let's go on. Ifama is saying, I can see some parts of the ribs of my son from his stomach. Okay, what does that mean? I check this way. What is the age of your child? Always start with the age of the child. I don't know. There's no way I'm going to know how to put this weights and ribs and all that without the age of the child. Am I the only one that didn't say it? So if I'm a, how was the age of this particular son that you are talking about? So tell me the age, then I can come back to that. Oh, my baby is 5 months old and 1 week. I checked his weight. It was the same as 4 months old, 6.7. Birth weight is 2.5. For a birth weight of 2.5 and 6.7 at 6 months or at 5 months, I am not worried. That weight is more than good. It's more than, usually children should double their weight at 5 months. So your child has more than doubled, because double will be 5 kilos. Your baby has gone beyond double. He has added an extra 1.7. So that is perfectly okay. All right. So there are many reasons for why the weight has not changed. I don't want to go into all that. Number one, we have to make sure that number one, the initial weight was correct and there's no scale error. We need to make sure that the current weight is correct. The first thing we want to do when we have this kind of thing is to check that weight again. Make sure the same scale is the same person and the scale is not 40. That is the first thing. And also make sure you're feeding your child well. But personally, I'm not worried about that weight, because that weight is okay for the child. So it could have been that the first one was wrong and this is actually the one that is correct, or whichever way the error is coming. But I'm not worried. The weight is fine. So I'll just recommend keep breastfeeding, and you can recheck again at your next immunization. I think your next immunization will be at 9 months, but unless you are going for the vitamin A has 6 months, which is fine. All right. I would like to know the quantity of food. If the quantity of food matters, the quantity of food matters for everybody. The quantity of food matters for everybody. There's a quantity of food we expect for every child based on the age, based on the weight. Okay. So for babies on breast milk, there's also quantity. People may not know, but it's possible to overfeed babies as well. So if you go to the guide section, we talk about this quantity and frequency of feeds. For a 7-month-old, they should be breastfeeding, and then they can have 2 to 3 complementary feeds, if that's just true, and then they should have like one snack. So, and the quantity of that each feed should just be about half a cup. When you say a cup, that a cup is about, that's your milk cup, that's 150 mils. So half a cup, it should be about 75 mils. So that's the quantity. Of course, we are talking about solid like porridge and stuff like that now. So, but if there's amount of calories a child needs based on their weight, okay, and there's amount of calories you have to give so that they can gain weight, okay. So we calculate, and of course the child's weight is always going to be changing, so the quantity of food is always going to be changing, but we have a range of how often should you feed a 7-month-old. We expect a 7-month-old to still be breastfeeding as much as they were breastfeeding at 6 months old, but we expect them to have at least 2 half a cup meals of complementary feeds and at least one snack. And when we say snack, we're talking about healthy snacks like fruits, like a banana and stuff like that, not junk food. But our guide section has all that kind of information, all the details down to the calories. So you should watch that, and you should be able to, you can't just allow children to just eat and eat as they like, because they can also become overweight. In as much as we want the children not to be underweight or malnourished, we also don't want them to be overweight. Okay, so because both of them are malnutrition, underweight, overweight is malnutrition. We want the children to have age appropriate weight, so we are concerned about both end of the spectrum. Mr. Kinwande, thank you so much for joining us. That's one of our zonal coordinator in Lagos. Been a while. Thank you so much for coming online. Hope Omeje, I noticed Sister rubbing his face yesterday. Hope, what is your question? Okay, well, you were the one asking about the weight of your baby. Okay, I got you now. I thought he's rubbing his face yesterday, and I thought he's asleep. I put him to sleep. Today he woke up and he's rubbing his face. There's nothing wrong with rubbing the child's face. I mean, it's okay for children to rub the face. I don't see that as a big problem. Okay, I will be worried if the child is rubbing the face and the eyes are red, or there's a discharge, or the eyes are gummed together. Then I will worry about. But the children rubbing their face, there may be nothing there. I'll also make sure you are not putting like a cream or oil on the hair that is dripping down the face and is irritating the face, because those are the things that punters do that you don't think about. Maybe you've put in like a powder or oil, anything that will irritate the child. So, but it's okay for the children to rub their face. There's nothing wrong with that. It could be an habit. It could be something that's irritating the child. It could be from the skin. As long as the height itself is not red, it's not having any discharge, I'm not going to worry about it. But pay attention to products that you're using for the baby that could be irritating, and also pay attention whether there are rashes or things like that. So that's what how we worry about. Okay, your child is 2 years plus. It's 2 year old and your child is already weighing 15 kilos. That child is overweight. I hope you know that. For a 2 year old, is the weight of a 2 year old should be 12 kilos. That is the average weight of a 2 year old. And a 3 year old average weight is 14 kilos. So if your 2 year old is weighing 15 kilos, the child is strictly speaking overweight. So I don't expect a child who is overweight to have their ribs sticking out. So there are two possibilities here. It's either the weight itself is wrong, especially if it is your own scale, because all of us have these are bedroom scales, which are not as accurate as the hospital scale. So the first thing we need to do is to go and recheck that weight. Or if that 15 kilos, I don't know whether it's something recent or something you've measured maybe a couple of months before you notice the ribs or whatever. So the first thing I want you to do is go and check that weight again. And we rely on the weight, okay, to decide whether a child is age appropriate or not, and not necessarily on parental subjective view. Okay. I mean, the children have ribs, so but you are the one saying you're seeing the ribs. I mean, we have to say it first. Sometimes there's really nothing there. But I think the most important thing for me is to actually get the correct weight of the child. So I'll recommend first that gets the weight checked again. And please preferably check it in an hospital setting using their own scale, and make sure the child is not overclothed, just light shirts or pants is fine when you're checking the weight. The child is not holding on to the way we check the weight is as important as the weight, because if you don't measure it correctly or use the right scale or use the faulty scale, we're going to get the wrong information, and that will uh, make us take the wrong decision. So the right thing first, to check the weight, and I'm not going to be worried about a 2 year old. Actually, I'm going to be worried about a 2 year old who is weighing 15 kilos. I'm going to be worried about the child being overweight rather than the child being underweight. So recheck the weight first, and then since you're always a regular, you can let me know at the next time. And then it's about, you don't need to do anything. Just make sure your children are eating healthy. Your 2 year old should be eating 3 to 4 times a day and having 1 to 2 snacks, healthy snacks in between. So that's what I would recommend for your 2 year old. Okay. Blessing is still here. I can't see any question on Instagram, so let me go back to Facebook. And I'm still talking about prematurity, so don't let me forget that. Blessing saying, I would like to know if it is wrong for me to wash my baby's plate with liquid soap and sponge after each feed. So how do you going to wash it before? You're going to wash it with plain with sponge. So there are some things we don't need to overthink. Okay. Okay, you're a first time mom, so I'm going to I'm not going to bother you. All right. So you don't need to overthink everything. The same way you wash your home plate with your sponge and water and baby soap, whatever. That is how you wash your children's plate as well. Okay. I hope you are not feeding your child with a bottle. Okay, so don't feed your children with bottles. Make sure you're feeding them with a plate, and you wash your plate immediately. And that's it. There is no special way to wash it. You don't need to sterilize plates and spoon and cups. Just wash them, dry them, and that is it. There's no any special thing to do about plates and cup and spoon. All right. Your sister said no need of washing. No, your sister is wrong. Okay. When you use your own plates as adults, do you just use it again without washing it? I mean, that is common basic hygiene. I don't think that one requires a pediatrician to tell us that we should wash our dirty plates and all that. You should wash it with every time you wash something for children in medicine. You wash them with soap. There's nothing like you're just rinsing anything. Even when we wash our hands, you wash it with soap and water. So wash your plate, you wash it with soap. Soap is always important in washing. Okay. Um I don't think you're supposed to be feeding your baby every few hours, okay? For your 6 months, so your baby needs to eat only twice a day. I hope you know that. So it's not every few hours. Your baby should be breastfeeding. It is breastfeeding that you can do every few hours if you want, but the complementary feed is not every few hours. It's just twice a day. So maybe you do once in the morning and one in the evening. In between is just breast milk. So that's why it's important that you know the quantities to give your child and make sure you're not overfeeding the child. So maybe that's why your sister was giving that information, because it's also wrong information. There's nothing about the content of the soap will be smelling on the plate. You wash the plate with soap and rinse it thoroughly, plain water, and then let it dry. And you can use it again. Just the same thing you do for yourself. There's nothing special when it comes to the baby as well. Okay. All right. Let's let me just say I didn't get answer to your question. Oh, I've answered your question. Which of your question didn't you get answer to? Is your network disturbing you? So you asked about the weight of your child. I've answered that the weight is fine. Unfortunately, I can't go back all the extra details I put, but I'm not worried about the weight of your 5 month old. Your 5 month old is weighing 6.7, I think, and your baby's birth weight was 2.5. And I just explained that baby should double their birth weight at 5 to 6 months. So your baby has more than doubled the birth weight. So that is absolutely fine. And I was just giving some explanation of why the weight, maybe it was a scale error, whatever, but we are not worried about the weight at this time. And you should just keep breastfeeding your baby exclusively. That's your first question. And then your second question was baby rubbing the eyes. And I've told you if there's no high discharge, if there's no redness of the eyes, there's nothing to worry about. It could just be an habit, but also make sure that the child is not having like an allergic reaction to something. So pay attention to the soap, the powder or cream and or oil, anything you are putting on the baby's skin or their head that can drip down their face. You need to pay attention to it. Avoid powder generally. Children don't need powder on their face. Avoid too much oil on the scalp. Just a drop or two is enough, so that it doesn't keep dripping down the face. And make sure you're using only hypoallergenic products, nothing fancy that can make the child very allergic and all that. So I think those are the questions you asked, and I think you've gotten the answers to them. But if not, just let me know which one you are still not sure, and we'll see whether I can still squeeze it in again. All right. So, Blessing, you have so many questions, but I already told you the answer to all your questions. You need to go to our Facebook group. I hope you are you a member of our Facebook group, Ask the Pediatrician Facebook group. When you get there, you look in the menu section, go to the guide section. There's guide one is on breastfeeding all through. There are about 4, 6, 5 videos to watch. There is a guide 2 on complementary feeding. There are about 5, 6, 7 videos to watch. They are not long videos. They're about 8, 7, 8 minutes. Some of them, I don't think anyone is up to 10 minutes. You need to watch all those videos. You need to have the background knowledge of complementary feeding. If I want to talk to you about everything complementary feeding, that's all I'm going to do today. And I actually don't want to talk complementary feeding today. I want to talk prematurity today, because it's what prematurity there. So you're not supposed to give your child just one food for the whole day. You're supposed to give your child different variety of food, okay? So that is actually the point. But you still need to make sure that when you are mixing the food together, you are putting in all the different food classes. So, and we say we want at least 4 of them at every given meal. So every given meal, we want a little bit of the carbohydrates, a little bit of the protein, a little bit of the fat and oil. We want a little bit of veggies or fruits, and we want some dairy. So those are the things we want you to mix. But the way what you mix each time is different. So for example, if in the morning you decide to do pap or any other cereal, it could be millet, it could be any of the cereals, and you decide to do it with a little bit of your breast milk or even the formula, and then maybe you cut a little bit of banana into it, and mix it up. It's fine. You can put a little bit of 1 drop of palm oil and cook it on fire and all that. That could be one meal. Okay, in the afternoon, you may decide to do your potato porridge, put in a little bit of crayfish, put in a little bit of or Titus fish, a little bit of the palm oil or margarine butter, that is another way of making it. So different ways. So you can, another time you may decide to do, let me do amala, soft amala or soft semo with a wedo green leaves that you've cooked, and you put a little bit of fish inside, or even meat, minced meat and all that, or minced chicken. There are many ways. So there are people that actually specialize in giving you all these recipes of the kind of food you can make for your toddlers. There are many of them on Facebook or all over social media. Lots of dietitians, blogs and stuff where you can get ideas of the kind of things you can mix. So we as pediatricians give you we want to give you the strategy, the backbone of what you should be doing, like the framework. Okay, which is why I want you to go and watch the video. But what you actually give your child is what you have in your own kitchen, and the way we all eat are different, and staple from really from one, what the Yorubas would do will be different what the Igbos and all that. So, but the most important thing is once you understand the principles, you can do it yourself. So we don't give you meal timetable and all that, but give you the principles. You understand the principles, then you work it out yourself. But which is why I want you to watch the video first. Then you will get all the principles. You get information about the quantity, about the frequency, about also what not to give your child, because the people give a lot of things that we don't want. We don't want to give your children junk food, all those packaged juices and stuff like that. So watch all that, and then I'm sure you'll be fine. But if you still have more questions, you can always come back to us on that. Okay, you check the weight at the chemist store. I'd rather you go check it in the hospital. Most of those stores, those bedroom scales are not as accurate. They are not as accurate as our scales in the hospital. So I usually will not rely much on them. It's good to use them as to have an idea, but to be very sure, actually now that you are worried, rather you check it with the doctors properly. Okay, thank you. Okay, you asked a question. Is it okay to see partially digested food in your? Yeah, you can see it. Yes, we call it toddler's diarrhea. It's nothing to worry about. It's okay. There's nothing to worry about. So it's okay. You can see a little bit of the beans, a little bit of vegetables in the stool. It just means that the food rushed a little bit through and was not properly digested. It's just occasional stuff. It doesn't always continue and need to stop. But when we don't want you to worry about that at all. And it doesn't mean the child needs to take Flagy or ORS or I think you don't need to do all that. Just leave it alone. All right. Okay, I think I have a little bit of a break. Instagram people, I can see questions. Okay, so let me go back to prematurity. So I've talked to you about what is prematurity, babies that are born before 37 weeks. Why is it a problem? Okay, why is it an issue for pediatricians? Why are we worried about prematurity? Why are we celebrating World Prematurity Day? Now, babies that are born too early, they have a lot of difficulties because their body is not yet ready for the outside world. Okay, so because their body is not yet ready for the outside world, they are at risk of many issues. In fact, so most of our babies that died in that first month of life, majority of babies that died in the first year of life. And out of those people that died in the first year of life, 2/3 of them would die in the first month of life, okay, and the first week of life. And the babies in this category of babies that are dying in the first month of life, the most common reason for that death is prematurity. So we don't want babies born too early. We don't want them born before 37 weeks. We want them to stay as much as they can stay in their mother's womb, at least 37 weeks before they come out. Number one, if they are born, especially born before 32, 33 weeks, their lungs are not yet mature. So they are prone to what we have, they can have what we call chronic lung disease or prematurity. They may not have taken enough blood from their mother, so they can have anemia of prematurity. Their brain is not fully mature. Even just holding them and shaking them a little bit, they can bleed in their brain. And when they bleed in their brain, they have brain injury, and they can have cerebral palsy and other neurodevelopmental, disabilities and complications in future. And the same thing with almost virtually all the organs of a premature baby, they are at risk. So that is why we want babies to stay as much as they can, stay in their mother's womb, okay, because of all these complications. And so usually when babies are born too early, before 37 weeks, then we have to compensate for all these difficulties that they may have. And no matter how, and when we even talk about prematurity as well, even among these babies, any baby born before 37 weeks is preterm, but we also divide them into three categories. We have what we call the late preterms, those ones that are born around 32 to 36 weeks. Those ones, even though they are still premature, but at least they are not as premature like those that are born around less than 28 weeks. So, depending on how late they are born, the closer they are to the 37 weeks, the chances that they are going to be okay is higher. But the farther away they are from 37 weeks, the chances that they will not survive or they are going to have very severe disability is higher. Okay, so in fact, before we used to say babies born below 28 weeks cannot survive. We don't even want to count them. But now our technology has increased, and I think our youngest survivor is 20 weeks. So a baby who was born at 20 weeks, more like I think we've had 20 weeks surviving, so we've been able to keep them alive. Of course, some of them are still going to have a lot of complications. We are able to keep them from dying, but I'm not sure whether we're going to protect them from those complications in future. So the younger the babies, the more uh, complications they can have. So that is why any preterm baby that you see alive today, you can call them warriors. They are survivors, because it's not an easy thing. And of course, the stress, some of them have to be in the hospital for the first 3 months, 4 months of their lives. I'm sure if I have preterm mothers on the call, they will be able to testify to what I'm saying. It is so stressful. It's so stressful, number one, to make sure they're not going to die from all the acute complications. And then even after you think you've survived and they've gone home, they can still die from very silly stuff like diarrhea and all that. And even when you think, okay, they survived, then when they become older, you are dealing with things like cerebral palsy, you are dealing with this then learning disability, intellectual disability. So they complain. Some of them are still having their chronic lung problems for a long time. So it's a long battle for premature babies. So as much as possible, we want to prevent. So when we talk about prevention in medicine, we talk about primary prevention, secondary prevention, and tertiary prevention. The primary prevention is that we don't even want the babies born preterm at all. And most of us, even this survivor I'm talking of where people have advanced neonatal care, where we have all those incubators, we have light 24/7, we have all these resources. We don't have that in third world countries like Nigeria. We don't have enough neonatal incubators. We don't have a lot of lights going on. And even for places where they have it, I'm sure when you are going home, they're giving you bills in millions of naira. So in fact, some places, before you even drop your baby, you have to pay millions deposits, even just to keep them on oxygen, because some of them will be on oxygen for months. And you can imagine how much is oxygen per day. It's a lot of money. So we want to avoid, if we can avoid baby, it's better the baby stay in their mother's womb. That's the best place to stay until 37 weeks. But if they are too ambitious and they come too early, they're going to give the pediatricians a lot of work to do. And it doesn't end even after we manage to survive the first month, then we're still dealing with complications that may go on for life. So we want to prevent premature. That is the first primary prevention. If no matter what we do, because of all these obstetric complications, so maybe we'll still be born preterm, then we want to make sure we take care of them adequately. And it is not every doctor that can take care of preterm baby. It is not every pediatrician that can take care of preterm babies. Have to be in the neonatal care, and most of those neonatal have to have their even degree of them. So we have what we call neonatal intensive care, special care baby unit. You need to make sure the pediatricians, the baby is born in the right hospital, and we have to do the right thing right from the first time they are born, the way we feed them, the way we handle them very gently, because any little rough handling, they can bleed in their brain. We are monitoring the brain, we are monitoring their lungs. Sometimes we need to give them oxygen, CPAP. We need to feed them. The way we feed them is different because they can also have their intestine can become dead. They can have gangrene if you give them formula. That's why breast milk is still the best for anybody. They can have what we call necrotizing enterocolitis. So many complications. So their care is a very intensive care. Sometimes they can stop breathing. They have what we call apnea of prematurity, and we are running to make sure we remind them to keep breathing, please. Don't stop breathing. So there are so many complications of prematurity. So, but we have to monitor and care for them. It's expensive, it's intensive emotionally and even financially for the family and all that. But the pediatricians will do our best, okay? And then they go home, and then we still have to keep following them up. I always tell mothers, some mothers think, oh, also give my baby and I'm leaving the NICU. That is all. That is not all. That is just the beginning, because every baby who was born premature needs to be monitored, needs to be followed up. And some hospitals don't remind you of that because maybe you are just so tired, you want to go home. But you still need to be coming and be seeing your pediatrician. We need to monitor the weight, we need to monitor the development, we need to monitor that their brain is developing well, so that if there's any issues, we start dealing with it. Some of them will be slow with walking, slow talking. We need to physiotherapy, we need speech therapy, we need all these therapists also working with them. So it's a long journey. So, but if we can prevent the prematurity, that will be the best thing. Sometimes we know that we cannot prevent prematurity, that we want to mature the lungs as quickly as possible. So we give the mother steroids. So that steroid will mature the baby's lungs. That will help us reduce the problem of respiratory distress syndrome and all that as well. So many things we try to do, and sometimes they are born too early. We have to monitor the brain, we're gentle and all that. So this is how we manage our premature babies. But the best option is we don't want preterm babies at all. And the best way to do that is please plan your pregnancies. A lot of us just get pregnant anyhow, and not anyhow, but we don't take precautions to make sure that we get pregnant only when we need to. I see a lot of mothers, they've just had CS and then they will get pregnant again so soon, and they'll Dr. Boye, I'm pregnant again, as if the pregnancy fall on you. The pregnancy didn't fall on you. There are things you need to do to get pregnant. Okay, if you didn't do them, you will not be pregnant. Okay, so if you're taking your precautions, use contraceptives, you will not be pregnant. So if you are pregnant 2 months, 3 months after having a baby, you are responsible. Just take responsibility for it. But the challenge with that kind of issue is that you can have that baby premature, and then we're going to end up with all these complications of prematurity because your womb is not ready for another baby. You're already stressed. You have not recovered from one. You go and have another pregnancy. You're going to have that baby too early. Those are the complications we can have, which is why we want to space your pregnancy 2 years in between. Recover fully before you go on another journey, okay? And once you're pregnant, please register for antenatal care. Every pregnancy is not the same. The fact that you had a smooth sailing pregnancy in the first time, I see mothers telling me, oh, I've not even registered for antenatal care. It's 5 months already, 6 months already, because they just so overconfident. That does not mean you can deliver that baby premature, because we never know what complications you're going to have, hypertension, diabetes. We need to check for all these things. We need to monitor, okay? So please take your folic acid as well. Before you even get pregnant, you should be taking your folic acid. Once you're a woman that can get pregnant and you can have a baby anytime, you should be taking folic acid every day. 1 tablet a day is enough. So you need to take all these precautions. Go for your antenatal care. Let your doctor check you. We treat you for malaria. Why do we prevent malaria in pregnant women? Because malaria is one of the reasons you can have your baby premature. Because if your fever is too high, you can have the baby premature, and then we're going to be dealing with all this. Some mothers like, oh, I want to have twins, I want to have triplets, I want to have quadruplets. It's good to have them, but they are more likely to be born premature. Yeah, so it's better you have your single babies at once. I'm telling you, I know most of you want the twins and triplets. Most of them, sometimes we escape, but most of them are born premature and they are at risk. Sometimes we end up losing one, losing two of them. Sometimes sometimes we will lose all of them if they are born too early. So don't do things that will make you to have twins and triplets. Some of you will go and be taking too much of all these fertility drugs so that you can have twins and triplets. Your babies are at risk, okay? It's better to have one baby at a time than to have 3 or 4 or 6. They can be born, but they're going to give the pediatricians a lot of work. And then the complications are plenty. So we want to avoid that. So those are the things we do in terms of avoiding babies being born premature. I don't know whether there's anything I've left. Make sure you take your tetanus toxoid. Don't use drugs anyhow. Don't go expose yourself to radiation. Don't go visiting people when you are pregnant so much, because some of those children may have viral infections. They can have CMV, they can have measles, they can have chicken pox. It's not good for a pregnant woman to be exposed to those kind of infection, because you can have your baby premature because of that. So these are things that we need to do to avoid, prematurity. But unfortunately, no matter what you do, some babies can still be born premature. Then we will deal with those ones one by one. And make sure you register for antenatal care. And when you register for antenatal care, make sure that you register for antenatal care appropriately. I see a lot of first-time mothers registering with midwives. If you're a first-time mother, you have no business being registered with a midwife. You should be registered with a gynecologist obstetrician. There are some high-risk pregnancies. If you already have heart problems, you already have kidney problems, you already have problems with your own health as a mother, you have no business registering with a midwife or private hospitals. People who don't know, who may not have that skill. They are good for normal, everything is good delivery. But when we are going to have complications, you need to be with the specialist. If you are the type that some of us have what we call incompetent service, you've been having miscarriages and what we call bad obstetric history, you need to be registered with a specialist. So a lot of us, sometimes we don't register with the right people, and then we are rushing late, because once you are registered with the specialist is monitoring you, they are putting you on bed rest, they are doing all those things, they are giving you the steroids so that they keep your baby as long as possible inside the home. Sometimes we give you, even if you want to go into labor, we give you something to stop the labor because we want that baby to stay. We do all that. Only specialists can do that. Some private hospitals can do that. So if you are the kind of person, also you've had a premature baby before, so you must register with a specialist, because it can happen again. So those are the things you must also do. Don't go and deliver in the church, in the mosque, in Baba, Yalagbo, all those places. No, you have to be, because preterm babies, the way we handle them in that first time when they are born is so crucial. Otherwise, they may survive, but we're going to deal with the complications in future. So they have to be born in the right hospital right from the beginning. It's better to transfer them in the mother's womb rather than transfer them via incubator. And I've had scenarios like that. It was horrible. So we don't want to do that anymore. All right, let me answer the remaining questions. Roots of so is it possible for exclusive breastfed babies to have diarrhea? There's nothing impossible in medicine. In medicine, we say never, but it's very rare for babies on exclusive breastfeeding to have diarrhea. If your baby is having diarrhea, you need to check what you are doing. Are you taking a particular drug or something that can be passed from your breast milk to your baby, and when passed from your breast milk to the baby, that can make the baby to have diarrhea? So those are the things you want to avoid. So very unlikely, but usually it can happen. I'm never in medicine say never. So, but you have to make sure what it is you are doing. Most likely it's a mother doing something, either taking the wrong drugs, even your hands. If you're not taking hygiene properly, washing our hands, cleaning our breasts properly before we feed baby, we don't change our brazier, all the other milk that I've soaked in is there, and we just carry it again and give to the baby. Those kind of things, the milk that is already out of your body can be contaminated, and it is still lying on your breast, and you just put that in the baby's mouth. A lot of germs may have gathered. So you just make sure you clean the breast, make sure you wash your hands, make sure you are not using any drug or anything that your doctor has not authorized for you as a breastfeeding mother, because you can't just take anything as a breastfeeding mother. There are things that are not compatible with breastfeeding. So before you use any drug, you must always clarify with your doctors first. Don't self-medicate. So that's what it means. Yeah, Abdul Hakim, you can ask your questions. Just today is what prematurity is, so that's why I'm doing a little bit of enlightenment on what prematurity, but you can ask questions, please. Thank you. How do you handle a 6 month old baby that doesn't want to eat at all? Is your advice to feed them, to force them? No, okay, don't force any baby. I don't know why we even ask this kind of questions, because if you just read the news, you have the answer to that question. People are in jail because they force fed babies. I hope you know that. Even in US, there are people in jail today because they force fed a baby and the baby died. The baby can die from force feeding. Never ever force feed a baby. I don't know why I have to keep repeating this almost every week now, but please don't ever force feed a baby to hate. All these are our old mothers' method that they will, oh man, on romo, one romo, oh man, romo, kuno on you. So please don't do it. In other words, don't, they will close your nose, they will force. No, please don't do that, okay? The way to feed your baby, 6 month old is just learning to eat. Okay, 6 months old should still be breastfeeding. So breastfeed that baby, just keep breastfeeding, and then you gradually introduce the solids. So when you first start, you give your baby is 5 months, 5 months, 5 months, 1 week. Oh. So don't start complementary feeding yet. Your baby is not yet 6 months. You start your complementary feeding at 6 months. It's very important. And when you start, the first day it may be 1 spoon. That is okay. You don't have to force. At that 6 months, the baby's milk, 80% of the baby's food is still breast milk. So just keep breastfeeding the baby. Baby will not become malnourished. Baby is not going to die. You just keep breastfeeding, and then you gradually, like I was telling Blessing, this is just 2 meals a day that the baby needs. But even when you are first starting, the first day maybe 1 spoon. That's okay. Then maybe the next time it will be 3 spoons. That is fine. Then maybe 5 spoons. That is how you gradually build it up. Let's be patient. Let's not just always be in a hurry. I know as mothers, I know I'm also a mom. We have 1,001 things to do, and that feeding is just one of those 1,000 on our list to do list for the day. But please, when it comes to feeding our babies, we just have to be patient with them. Okay, let's be patient. Some babies are very good. You put anything in their mouth, they are just eating it. But there are some fussy ones. So please be patient with them. Be gentle, be patient, be persistent. And if you think you are running into trouble, you can please see us. Come to see the doctors. Come to see the dietitian, the nutritionist. We'll give you tips on how to do it. But please don't force feed the baby. The baby can die from it. And I'm not saying that to scare you. It has happened. Just Google it. You will see all the news of people. I mean, especially those who take the babies to daycare. They force feed those babies, and the babies died. And the person will end up in prison. That is as simple as that. So please don't do that. Give your baby food with cup and spoon. Be patient, and we will get there. Okay. All right. Ruth is saying my baby has been stolen since birth. Seriously since birth. Okay, if your baby has been stolen seriously since birth, you should have seen a pediatrician. Number one, no baby should be stolen seriously from birth. Okay, and the question is why is the baby stolen? And then but the way you said it, I have a feeling that maybe you don't know what is diarrhea in newborn babies, and you may be mistaking their normal stool for diarrhea. Babies don't pass solid hard stool like yours. Okay, babies pass what we call semi-formed stools. Their stool is like that egusi. You have a little bit of solid and a little bit of liquid mixed together. That is the normal stools for babies. That is not diarrhea. That is not stooling. Okay, so I have a feeling for one, we have to make sure that we are saying the same thing. Babies can pass stool up to 12 times a day. In fact, they pass stool every time you feel them. That is normal. That is not diarrhea. That is not stooling. So let's before be sure that we are saying the same thing. So let's be sure we are on the same page. So before we go further, so when we talk about diarrhea in newborn babies, it is like a baby passing completely watery stool that will sink completely into the baby's diaper. In other words, you won't even see anything on top. You will just see the stain. You will know something has happened here, but there's nothing on the top. So that is the diarrhea in a newborn baby. It will look like urine. That is, if the baby is passing that kind of stool, then that is what we will call diarrhea for a newborn baby. But if they are passing what look like a mix of solid and liquid, that is not diarrhea. If they are passing it 12 times a day, that is not diarrhea. That is normal stool for them. Because if your baby is actually passing watery stool, your baby will not be gaining weight. If your baby is having that kind of diarrhea from birth, then how will your baby gain weight? So that means, I have a feeling your own definition of diarrhea is the problem here. So make sure, number one, and then if your baby is passing watery stool or having diarrhea from birth, you should have asked your doctor before you left the hospital, and you should have gone back to them. If anything is seriously happening to a baby, I expect that you would have raised it straight away with the pediatrician. Okay, very unlikely for your baby to pass watery stool. Very unlikely for your baby to be gaining weight if your baby is actually having diarrhea. So two options you have. I've already given you a definition of what is normal, what is not normal. If you are not yet sure, the best option is for you to go back to your pediatrician or your doctors and show them the stools. We're happy to see it. Unfortunately, you can't post that on our Facebook group because that is not in line with Facebook policy, and people sometimes get irritated. So we don't allow those kind of pictures, but you can show it to your own doctor in the hospital, or you can show it to a nurse or anybody, and they'll be able to say, oh, this is normal or this is not normal. Okay, because I see a lot of mothers think the fact that babies are passing through, maybe they're changing diaper 8 times, 12 times a day, that is diarrhea, that is not diarrhea, that is normal. Okay, and so just for pay attention to what is happening first, and then you can take it off from there. But what you need to do is just keep breastfeeding your baby, and your baby is fine. Okay, I saw here on my 7-month-old vagina, hope it's nothing to worry about. Her breasts are still swollen. I've never massaged it. If you're worried about it, usually babies can have a little bit of hair, fine, thin hair. It's nothing to worry about. We worry about the the thick coarse hair that like adults. That is when that will worry us. But if you're worried about it, you worry about the hair, you worry about the breast, you may want to see a pediatric endocrinologist so that they can see it as well, either reassure you or they can run their test. But personally, I doubt there's anything wrong. But because I've not seen your babies, I don't want to just give you a reassurance without evidence. So I'll recommend you see a pediatrician, preferably a pediatric endocrinologist, and then they will take it up from there. All right, I guess a lot about prematurity today. Is the World Prematurity Day. Please let's prevent prematurity. Most of the prevention lies in our hands as mothers. Let's make sure we space our pregnancies. Family planning is part of child survival strategies. People wonder why is the pediatrician talking about family planning. It's so crucial to us. We don't want you to have pregnancy. I've seen a little bit of stuff on social media about a couple that have 2 babies within 1 year, 2 CS and all that. And there's been a lot of hot takes back and forth and lots of emotion. Obviously, it's emotional. Not only for the parents, it's emotional for the for the doctors. I hope you know that doctors also get emotional about some of these things, and it affects us as well. No doctor wants to lose the babies, and things like that. But that should not have happened. Okay, there's no excuse for having 2 babies in 1 year, having 2 CS in 1 year. There is absolutely no reason. No matter the emotion we're expressing, okay, please space your pregnancies. It's because every pregnancy is a risk. And if you have had a baby, you've had it through cesarean section, you are double risk. Okay, you don't need to have another baby for 2 years. Okay, so it's putting everybody's life at risk, putting the baby at risk. At the end of the day, there's no point going through all that journey for nothing. So it's better to just be patient and go through it. And so this is why we're having all this kind of health education and all that. It's not a blaming thing, but it's just educating thing and letting people know this is the right thing to do. This is what to do. It's not a democracy of opinion. It's not a matter of the parent wants this, the parent wants that. It's a matter of what is the best for the child's health. What is health advice? So it's not a matter of, oh, this is what I want. Of course, as adults who are fully functional, who have what we call full mental capacity, you can do whatever you like. Doctors can only give advice. You can always do what you like. But you're going to end up with us, and then, so you will know that we've warned you. But if you take your decision and you end up, having the issues, then, at least you will not say you ignore, you won't plead ignorance. That is the most important thing. But you have full capacity to take your decision, even if it's a foolish one. We won't stop you. That is just the thing. But our own role is to just educate, advise, and tell you what is the best, and then wait for you to take your decision by yourself. So I hope most of us will take better decisions. Let's space our babies. Let's make sure we take care of ourselves, recover well. You are so crucial to the baby's survival. So we want the mothers to be healthy. We want you to be in your best state of health before going through the pregnancy. And we want you to come to us on time so that we can support you during that pregnancy and make sure we take decision. And if you are having complex issues around pregnancy, please don't stay in the primary health care. Don't stay with general doctors. Don't stay with even general hospitals, secondary. Please go to the tertiary level. Go to tertiary level. There are some things that are just tertiary level management. And so please be aware of that and do the right thing. Okay. But of course, also when you're planning for pregnancy, put a lot of money aside in case you need to end up with some of these CS or needing premature care is expensive. So plan for it as well. But plan first not to have preterm babies, but we can't always avoid them. But when they do, we will be there with you along the way and do our best for our preterm babies. So to all the preterm warriors, happy World Prematurity Days. And if you still have any questions, feel free to go to our Facebook group, and we are there Mondays to Saturdays. Post your questions there and we will try and answer your questions within 48 72 hours. We try 24 hours sometimes, but sometimes it can be up to 48 72 hours, of course, because all our volunteers are working, so we only do it as extra. So just be patient with us. Of course, if your child is very sick, please don't leave the question hanging on the Facebook group. Go to the hospital. Take sick children to the hospital. Ask X questions, knowledge questions. But if a child is already sick, very sick, especially, please and please go to the hospital and feel free to ask us, but at least make sure you're in the hospital, because there are some things that have to be in the hospital first. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening and week, and I will see you again next week. God willing. Bye.